Hey everyone, welcome to Rebloom, the podcast where we explore the power of change, rediscovery, and living with intention.
That's right. We're your hosts, Lori and Jamie, two friends who really love a good story about transformation.
In each podcast, we're going to chat with inspiring guests who've made bold pivots in their lives or careers. They've let go of what no longer served them to embrace something more authentic, joyful, and true to who they really are.
And the best part, many of them reconnect with passions or dreams they discovered as kids. It's about finding the seeds planted long ago and letting them bloom again.
So if you're ready for real conversations about reinvention, purpose, and following your creative heart, you're in the right place. Hello, friends, and welcome
Let's dive in
to
and
Rebloom.
see what it takes to
This
rebloom.
is a podcast where we get to talk with the most interesting people and hear their stories of how they have pivoted and rebloomed. And today we're going to have a special conversation with my co-host, Lori Siebert. Hi, Laura.
Jamie, we've done this. We did it. We've been doing this for a year now?
A year. So for those of you who have been following us, this is about our 28th episode. Hello, pat myself on the back, pat you on the back.
Pat us on the back, because we did something we were terrified about.
Terrified. So we thought it would be fun to just sort of revisit the past year, talk to you a little bit about us, about how we have rebloomed, and some cool things that we have happening in our future. So it'll be a little shorter episode, but thank you all for joining us. Thank you.
Yay. So let's go back to when this all happened.
Yes.
So
yes.
I get a phone call from my friend Jamie, and she says to me, Laura, we're going to do a podcast. And
yeah.
I had sheer terror in my heart because I listen to podcasts, and I always thought to myself, I don't have a podcast personality, and I'm terrified of the technology. And, so I was a very reluctant podcaster. But my friend Jamie was dealing with some things in her personal life, which she will be sharing.
Yeah.
And I needed to do this to support my friend. And lo and behold, it's led us to some really incredible conversations.
Incredible conversations. And I should start by saying thank you. Thank you, my dear friend, because yes, we had just lost our daughter, Elise. To say that I was spinning and sad and lost and everything that I had worked for, I just had no idea what was happening. And prior to her passing, I had really wanted to share the stories of people who had pivoted and had rebloomed or found creativity, because that is something that I had always held on to in times of stress or struggle. And we lost our daughter. She lost her battle with mental illness, and I was lost, and I needed to do something. And people think, oh, well, they'll just, hide under the covers. But for me, it's been moving forward. And I think often that if we can connect and share with other people, that often is a great gift, not only to yourself, but to others. And it's sort of the teacher in me. I'm a teacher, been a teacher for many, many years. And so I called Lori. And we didn't know each other super, super well. We'd been friends for about a year, but more from a distance perspective.
Yeah.
And she was on vacation, and I'd had a side conversation with someone else. And to her point, she came home and I go, okay, we're doing this. Now, I've never been a podcaster. I didn't know how we were going to make this happen, but I knew I needed to do something. And thank you. Thank you for holding my hand through this.
Well, I was thinking about, because we just had a meeting with the women from Jet Creative, who also stepped up and have been helping us through the tech part and the editing. And I really love that the human spirit still is there when we need each other. I like to
Yeah.
believe that we do step up. And I was reluctant, but I feel like I maybe needed this too, because
Yeah.
I'm loving these conversations. And at this part, I think for both of us, we really believe in serving people. And I think these conversations, they're great fun for us to have
They are.
when we're talking to people that we think are really cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
beyond that, we are getting messages from people saying that they're getting insights that really help them,
Yeah.
which this this came from a place of fear for both of us, but it's now a thing that we really enjoy and look forward to.
100%. And I think it came, there was fear, but there was also a great belief that people had these stories that we could share, and they were real people that we could connect to. But to your point, I think we often we're afraid to put ourselves out there. And I think if someone is there for you, someone shows up for you, sometimes people have said to us this past year, what can I do? Sometimes just being there,
Mhm.
to say, I'm here for you. I've got you. And helping that person to move forward. And not only have you helped me greatly to move forward, so has everyone else. And I think we started this with that idea, which is still important, that we help people to rebloom and give them that encouragement. But I think it's become so much more, to your point. I think it's given us both gifts that we had no idea. We had no idea. I mean, we started it maybe for one reason, but it's given us so much more in
Yeah,
addition to.
I know. I just think back to when we did our first recording.
Oh my gosh.
When you go back to when we first interviewed each other on the first, or even when we were recording our intros and the outro,
Yeah.
like how nervous we were. And
Oh,
like almost every time we have some kind of a tech issue, and
always.
now we just laugh about it.
Yeah.
Even when we interviewed Todd Oldham, who is one of my heroes,
Oh,
there were dings and bells going off and all kinds of things were going awry when like I really wanted that one to be perfect. And he was so wonderful and just laughed with us. And
he was
you know,
gracious. He's like, "Hey, this is life." And I'm like, "It is life. It
yeah.
is. It is dings and dogs barking but we've gotten better. We've gotten more accomplished, or more comfortable. I wouldn't even say accomplished, more comfortable with what we're doing, because I do think we continue to believe in sharing these messages, and certainly the tech, although still the tech part, I swear, is just always going to be crazy. But it's been a gift. My background is I'm a photographer. I love to take pictures of florals. I love to take pictures of things that are vintage and have a story. And so to be able to tell other stories and really share them and capture those, I think is so important. And I'm so glad that we've been able to do that as a team. And
Yeah.
yeah. And the other thing is the friendship that's blossomed because of it. I mean,
Right. Absolutely. I think we really balance each other because you're
yeah,
an extrovert, I'm an introvert. I always am the curious one, so I'm like asking questions about childhood and all that. And you're really good at like wrapping it up and
yeah.
tying a bow around it and making connections between things that are being said. So it's been really great. And we tell our guests before we record, because initially we were talking over each other because we get so excited. So we tell them we're going to hold our hand up. So we don't do that as much. We still do it sometimes
Yes, yes.
because we really do. We get so excited to hear the stories. And there's so many surprises that different things that I've heard. Like we just interviewed our friend Dion, and the fact that she worked at an auto Auto place.
auto trader. And we interviewed, one of our first interviews was my dear friend Billy O'Donnell, who was a trader and now is making bourbon. Todd Oldham pinch us on that.
Yeah, amazing. We interviewed the man who makes ginger beer, who was a neuroscientist.
That would be Tyler Lewis. Hello, Tyler. We interviewed Meg Lokes, who's a beautiful photographer, Kelly Ray Roberts, who, I mean, I have had a creative crush on Kelly Ray Roberts for years. She was one of the ones that really sparked my interest in creativity, and to sit and have a conversation with her. Hello.
Yeah,
I
and I
mean,
think from her coming from a social work background was really, there were a lot of really great nuggets in that conversation. There actually are great nuggets in a lot of them. I really loved Mary Jo Hoffman.
oh, yeah.
She was really great, and there were some things that she brought up in that chat that were really very thought provoking. So, like every single talk we have, I go away with something that I really go away and have to think about and ponder.
Yeah.
And
Think
yeah,
about Seth Apter, who was a psychiatrist and ended up completely flipping his whole life and going into art because he sent a thank you note, or because he got a
that
thank.
story blows.
Crazy.
Actually, because of him, I've been sending a lot more snail mail to people because I
Yeah.
loved that beautiful story and that interaction that
Yeah.
he had with an artist, a gallery owner that ended up changing his life. You
I
just
mean,
never know what interactions that you have with people are going to lead you to. So that's
no.
another great nugget that we've picked up from these talks.
Huge. We talked with Kathy Nichols, and since we've talked with Kathy Nichols, actually Mary Jo Hoffman, since we spoke with her, her house burned down,
Yeah.
not through the LA fires. And Kathy Nichols is a beautiful artist who's had a huge career and lives in Asheville and lost her business in the floods and the storms. So we've had these amazing women who I'm sure if we might need to circle back and find out where they are, because they've had some really big things happen to them
That
that
is a
are,
great idea. I had
yeah,
not thought that's a great idea because
yeah.
talk about pivoting,
Oh,
like, facing something like that's happening so much more, like the LA fires. Like I can't imagine losing your home. And
yeah.
how does one come out of things like that?
Yeah. And we may need to have them back on and chat with them, because those are some life pivots that were completely out of their control, but that, and they were chugging along fine, happy, doing their artwork, doing their photography. Mary Jo had a brand new book out. It's in its third or fourth printing already. It's incredible. It's called Still the Art of Noticing. For anybody who needs a book, that's one that you got to get. We've had people like Kim Clausen, who is my mentor and hero, and just filled with amazing and just tips of how people have changed and pivoted and along the way. And you head down a path. We've headed down this path, as I said, and we started out, and it's still the same intention to share these beautiful stories, but I think it's growing and giving us so much more and things that we never anticipated. But sometimes you just got to start. You just got to make it happen. And I'm proud of us
Yeah.
for doing that.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of talks on with people that, some people are under the illusion that some people are just lucky and things just happen
Yeah.
to them and good comes their way. And really a common theme is a lot of this takes so much hard work.
It does.
Hard work, passion, commitment, just, really putting your heart and soul into something and believing in it to really turn things around. If you're making a big pivot or a small pivot, you got to do the work, and change is not always easy.
It is not. And there's a great book by Ina Garten. Do you think we could get Ina Garten to be on our podcast? That's a goal. I'm putting it out there into the world.
Yes, I think we can.
We can. She is my hero. And if anybody hasn't listened to her new book, it's great, but it's called Be Ready When the Luck Happens. And to your point, she was at some, I don't know, mastermind something with Oprah and all kinds of other people. And she stood up and she said, I'm lucky, and sat back down, and Oprah gave her a little bit of a dope slap and said, you're not lucky. You've worked hard and you were ready when the luck happened to you. And that's just it. You and I are working hard. We have worked hard. We've worked hard on our individual crafts. We're working hard on this. So when the luck happens, we're ready to say yes, and we're ready to take it to the next level. And I think
we're also ready to fumble a little bit. I think that's the other thing I think that stops people sometimes is I know I've felt this way at times where you don't want to do something or put something out there until it's perfect.
Right.
But what I've learned from different experiences is, I started this thing with a partner years ago called Art Biz Jam, and I laugh now thinking back to the first one we did. And it's just kind of laughable at how the mistakes we made and the things we did wrong, but we grew it.
Yeah.
And every year it got better and it got better and it got better. So the lesson there is, just start somewhere. Doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to know everything.
No. And you start for a reason. Maybe it's got a season. Maybe it lasts a very long time. Maybe it doesn't. Everything. Lori, tell a little bit too. I mean, you had a whole design studio. You had how many employees? I mean, that was a season of your life.
Right. Yeah. We were up to 12 employees. And I still have a design firm. I started the firm in 1987. But we did stints in environmental graphics and graphic design and branding. And then we moved into art licensing, and I'm still doing that, but also doing travel teaching and hosting retreats. So yeah, all along the way, there were these little pivots. I like my husband, he always said like every 7 years, I had the itch to shift somehow. And that was another thing we've heard from other people. And it's weird because I hear the 7-year thing too. Yeah. So I don't know what that's about, but yeah. And every time it was, maybe sometimes the shift came from, like, I know in my 30s, I was kind of like going through a lot of anxiety and depression, and worked with a leadership coach and shifted a lot of things around because I knew I had to for mental health reasons. But other times it's just, smaller shifts for reasons that I just want to get closer to something that's more joyful. So yeah, all of it.
Let's take a quick minute and thank our amazing sponsors. Our podcast is proudly brought to you today by Jet Creative and Urban Stems. Jet Creative is a women-owned marketing firm committed to community and empowerment since 2013. Are you ready to rebloom and build a website or start a podcast? Visit jetcreative.com/podcast to kickstart your journey. They will help you bloom in ways you never imagined. And bonus, our listeners get an exclusive discount when you mention Rebloom. And a huge thanks to Urban Stems, your go-to and our go-to source for fresh, gorgeous bouquets and gifts delivered coast to coast. Use Bloom Big 20 and save 20% on your next order. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Rebloom Podcast. Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to you for joining us today. And it's interesting, I'm in a very quiet phase right now, and it's somewhat uncomfortable for me, I'll be honest. I've stopped doing a lot. I've stopped working with some of the clients that I had previously. I stopped teaching at the university. I'm still teaching at the New York Botanical Garden. I'll say, I'm doing my podcast. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. So there's still things in my bucket. But when you're used to going at a pretty high clip, and you gear down, it's awkward feeling because you don't know what to do with that space. So I've taken up Procreate this year. I've been sharing with Lori. I'm like, Lori, I can't draw, but I've been having more fun and no one's looking at them. Well, I do show Lori, but
well, they're beautiful too. I'm loving what you're doing.
It's just fun. And I'm not constrained by anything. I'm just letting my brain. Now, where it takes me, no idea. It might just be that creative time that I need to just let my brain sit and just be okay. Because my brain's been very foggy the past year plus.
Well, and rightfully so.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we're still, I will always say we will never be healed. We will just move forward, and our hearts are forever broken. And, that is the challenge of losing a child, that it's just the wrong order. And, we do believe that our daughter is at peace and she suffered greatly. And that is the thing that we've heard from many of our guests too, is that they've had those times of stress or mental health challenges, and they found that joy. They found themselves through a creative outlet. And if I believe anything, I believe that. Not only do I believe we should follow our creative heart, but I feel like in times of stress and challenge, we all need that. And I hope that this show will in turn inspire people to do that if they're feeling low, because you can see the light if you find your creativity. I do believe that.
I mean, I remember the very, very first time I heard your concept for this, the Rebloom concept. It was originally supposed to be a series, like a TV series or a show. And, maybe someday it will. Who knows? That wasn't meant to be at that time. But when you shared that concept, I thought that is brilliant. And I believe it even more now, especially I see so many people that are, they're a little bit older, but they're still making changes in their lives. And women especially, I feel like I meet so many women at my retreats who maybe are retired now and it's their time.
Right.
Because they've spent so many years taking care of their families or, just juggling in general. And now they're giving themselves the gift of doing something just for them.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to see that light in them and the joy and the laughter of them, really taking care of themselves and their heart.
And just knowing that true happiness. There was several years ago, I went to the Flower School of New York and I spent a week. I invested in a course to learn about flower arranging. I figured if I'm the floral photographer, I should probably know a little bit more about flower arranging. Maybe just a little bit. I think I was the happiest I've ever been that week. It was just surrounded by flowers, creating every day. Joy, just filled with joy. And that's what I hope our listeners will find, even if it's just painting on a canvas or doing Procreate or drawing or cooking or baking.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. Making bourbon, knitting, crocheting. There's so many amazing things that are out there right now. And it doesn't have to be a job. It can be a small hobby. It could be a serious hobby. And I think it's just taking a moment for yourself and finding a pause in life and being able to just breathe. And I think when you do that, then it helps to put some other things into balance and perspective. I think in our world right now, wherever you fall, in our world, politically, privately, whatever, it's challenging. It's challenging. And I think we can all get caught up in that whirlwind. And I think sometimes it's best to take a little step to the side and just focus on something that's beautiful.
Do some
Yeah.
self-care.
Do some self-care.
I heard a guy, I don't know who it was, talking about this. Really resonated with me. I thought it was such an interesting idea that imagine like when you're a mother or a father and you have this child that you're responsible for, all the love and care and everything you want to give that child. If you think about yourself that way, if
Ah,
you were given yourself as a person that you were responsible for loving and caring for, you wouldn't talk to yourself negatively the way that we do.
yeah.
You would encourage yourself to do things that are exciting and joyful for you. So I loved that idea of, why don't we think of ourselves as this precious being that we need to really take care of and fill up. And I feel like when you do that, when you're able to do that, you're more equipped to serve others, which is the ultimate of being on this earth. Is how do we fill ourselves up with love so that it can spill out onto others?
Yep. Yep. How can we help others to bloom? And I think that is a beautiful way to look at it, because we do. We have all this self-talk that is often very negative, and I can't do this. I'm not good at this. And it's funny. One of the things that I say to Lori all the time, I say, I take photos because I can't draw. And she goes, I don't believe that. Yes, you can. And I said,
It's
okay, well,
only practice. I
yeah.
will teach you.
But I may not be able to draw in a tight way. Maybe I draw in a loose way, or maybe I draw in my style, but I definitely can take photos. I know that for sure, but she's going to help me. But I think that's just it. It's finding your medium, finding the thing that brings joy into your life, but also the thing that you can hopefully give to others and share it. I mean, I think that's the biggest lesson that I've learned from a lot of our friends that we've had on this episode, on our show, is on the episodes, is that they shared. They maybe were afraid and they weren't sure, but they started and they shared. And because they put it out there, it has just grown and blossomed in ways that they couldn't even imagine.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, this has been an incredible journey for us. One of the things that it has also done is it brings us together for other opportunities. And Lori wants to talk about a really cool thing that's coming up that people can do in person if they want to. So not only can you listen to us here, but we've got a cool thing that's happening in May. Go, Lori.
Which also has the name Rebloom attached to it.
Yeah.
It's a conference called conference. We don't like that word. It's experience or celebration, because we're not going to be sitting in a room with a screen, and it's not a business meeting. This is a joyful gathering of women.
Yeah.
It's called Live Courageously Rebloom. It's this May 5th to the 8th at a beautiful venue called Richwood on the River. I've taught there. Jamie has been there.
Yes.
It's
Stunning.
beautiful. It's a magical property. There's just something really special about it. So I'm partnering with Colleen Sutton, who's the owner of Richwood, and then Kara Fox, who owns a store in the most darling town of Madison, Indiana, which is like right across the river from Richwood, and it's a hallmark town. So we've been planning for over a year on this, and talk about fear. Like from the very beginning, I'm like, I'm always like, oh, we're not going to fill it. And Karen calling, yes, we will. Yes, we will. And so there's been a lot of fear, but also a lot of belief that we just are doing this for good. We have a speaker lineup of inspiring women that are going to share how they manage their lives and how they're doing amazing things, how they got there, tools, tricks, inspiration. And we just want to love on everyone there and take care of everyone there, inspire them. You'll be networking with there's some friends of mine that are already signed up that I love. So the group is going to be amazing. The speakers are amazing. The venue's amazing. I can't wait. And I'm so excited, Jamie, you're going to be there. Our friend Dion, my friend Britta Tabor, like just
Margaret
great women.
Tanto. I mean, there's so many people that are coming that are just people that I admire, that I cannot wait to meet myself. I think this is an opportunity to invest in yourself. And I think we often, it's sort of as you were just saying about that child, we invest in education for the child. We invest in classes and art classes and karate classes, but sometimes we don't invest in ourselves. And this is an opportunity to invest in ourselves, because I think when you do that, the gifts that are gained are so much greater than that small monetary investment. And it is so worth it. I believe wholeheartedly in giving myself educational experiences, and I never have walked away from a retreat or a gathering that I didn't have a bazillion new friends and experiences and joy. And it is just connections. It's forever changing. It forever will change your life forever.
Absolutely. And we do have a discount code. It's all caps Rebloom 305 or 305. We'll put that in show notes.
We'll put that in show notes, and it's something we hope that you will come to meet both Lori and myself and some other amazing women and see how they have grown, bloomed, and some of them even rebloomed. And it's just going to be a terrific opportunity. This has been an incredible year. We're now in year 2. We have some really cool speakers coming up this year. We're so excited.
Yeah, Jamie and I just troll around on social media and we find people. Like, I've always been so curious, and I'm a little groupie of interesting people.
Yeah.
So both of us, we find these people and we just send them DMs. And we're like, would you want to talk to us? And we like text each other and say, oh my God, they responded.
Megan Murphy, who is the editor-in-chief of Women's Day, Lori was totally stalking her, and she said yes. And she just dropped this week. That was an incredible interview. Incredible.
I know. Yeah. So who knows? You just never know.
You never know, but we had a few big yeses that are coming up. So we thank you all for reblooming with us, for your patience, for our bloopers, which there have been a few. But we certainly hope that we can continue to grow, and we certainly want to continue to share wonderful, wonderful stories with you of people that we admire and we think will inspire you.
Yeah. And if you love this and you like these conversations, spread the word, because
the word.
We really want, there's such great conversations and great stories. So we hope more people hear it.
We sure do. And if you have anybody that you think would be a great guest on our show, please send us a direct message or send us an email too, because we will add them to our list. We've got a pretty big list right now, and we love to invite both gentlemen and women on, because we think both have pivoted in ways that are really incredible and are important, and we want to share all of those stories. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, my friend. Love you, my friend. And I thank you for holding my hand on this journey. You're incredible. And thank you to our listeners. Peace, love, and rebloom. Life is too short not to follow your passions. So go out there and let your heart plant you where you are meant to be and grow your joy.
We will be right here sharing more incredible stories of reinvention with you. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode of Rebloom.
Until next time, I'm Jamie Jamison.
And I'm Lori Siebert.
Peace, love, and rebloom, dear friends.